Oh, you caught me fooling around. It's like that here on the Weekly Wrap. Hi, I'm Cal Anderson, the host for the Weekly Wrap. And here we talk about last week's news through newspapers and pluck from the headlines. So today I have a guest. She's in the newspaper business, Sue Ellen Woodcock. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Cal. Nice to meet you.
Now, I've known you off and on for years. You
Yes.
had other careers before you were in the newspaper business.
Actually, I was in the newspaper business, and then I took a little break for about 8 years, and then I went back to the newspaper business 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
But I worked at my brother's table here in Lynn. I was a volunteer coordinator, and did a lot of other jobs around that had to be done too, and that's kind of where I took my break from journalism, and now I'm glad to be back.
I remember when you were involved with the new Marblehead Council on Aging as well.
Yes, they had the buddy program where you went and volunteered to spend a couple hours a week visiting with an elderly person in the community. And I had an elderly gentleman who was 97 years old by the name of Harold, and that's how we met.
Yes, we cross-pollinated in some activism. So it's good to see that you're involved with the community type of presence, no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. You know, you're involved with you know, my brother's table, and now you're involved with a newspaper publishing firm. Now, I just thought that the Lynn Journal, which is one of the titles, was a standalone. But tell us more about the consortium.
The Lynn Journal is owned by the Independent Newspaper Group, and the owner is Stephen Quigley. Quigley family's been in the newspaper business for a long time. There are over 10 newspapers that the company has, and they range from Boston, Back Bay, the Boston Sun, to Revere, Winthrop, Lynn, Everett, and around there. Now,
People think of a newspaper as a daily periodical, but there's a niche and really a good reason to have weeklies as well. You want to talk about that a little bit? They're a little bit different in how they portray news and their content, but
yeah, there's difference, and I think today daily newspapers certainly cover the fast-breaking news, things like that. But the problem with the dailies so much is that they don't have the readership. People are not reading daily newspapers. They might read the Sunday paper, but during the week it's easier to pick up a weekly newspaper where everything is condensed. We're able to go a little more in depth on some stories and really get into the communities that the newspapers are covering.
Well, that's what I'm interested in, is because a lot of times a weekly newspaper can be considered just a reason to pull together a bunch of ads with some token content. But when you get to your newspaper, I notice that there's some bona fide news that you might not find in a daily. For example, last week's local producer secures rights for Tony Conigliaro movie. Now, I didn't see that in the Daily. I didn't see that in the North Shore papers, etc. I mean, the Sunday newspapers. Also, your headline was the community output sought for the waterfront open space plan. Now, this is one of 4 meetings coming up where people at large are asked to give their opinion on what they see for the future of the waterfront. So you both picked that as one of the main things for the week. That was very interesting.
It's very important to the community.
Now, I see that in your newspapers you tend to put the editorial and op-ed pages right on page 2.
In the Lynn paper, yes. It varies from paper to paper, community to community, and that's depending on the style of the newspaper. Some of them are broadsheets, some of them are tabs like this one.
Also, they have news briefs, and they're usually things of very keen interest for the community. Like, what are some of the smatterings of the topics?
There are all kinds of things.
Yeah, there's fundraisers.
Fundraisers, events at schools, clubs that are doing different things, 5K road races, special events that are happening around the city.
And what people like to see is their names and photos in a local newspaper.
Everybody loves their picture in the paper.
All right.
That's like ingrained in people, I think, from the time you're born, because you get your little birth announcement, to the day you die, you get another photo with your obituary. So photographs are always very, very important to the people in the community also.
And the Journal and others choose to use the opportunity to highlight different events, sporting teams, etc. All the local people doing local things. So I just want to mention too, one of the newspapers I pick up that's in your company is the Boston Sun. I picked this up because I have some clients in the Back Bay, and here's a headline: "Darker Days Ahead for the Common," talking about the shadows of a proposed building that's going to be casting shadows on the Common. I see this mentioned in the major dailies, but here it is.
It's much more in depth with ours, and like I said, that's what the weekly really offers you, the opportunity to go in depth, because there's so much, this is such a huge issue with the shadows, that it really deserves to be covered in depth.
Well, the main thing is that's very important for the circulation area of the newspaper. I know when I travel around the country, I'm always picking up the weeklies and the dailies locally because it keeps me in tune with what's going on, where I'm having my coffee and breakfast, or I'm staying. We've only got about 2 minutes left. This is a 10-minute show, so thanks for coming by and having tea and coffee with us.
No problem.
I have to mention the daily item also treats news a little bit differently because they have breaking news every day. So their page one tends to be on breaking news. Now when you do a weekly, you have to pick and choose what you report on because it's going to be around for about a week as people pick up in the newspaper and keep it around their home.
Yes.
You know? One thing that I did want to mention, plucked from the daily item last Thursday, is the Easter murder perpetrator has been the suspect has been captured.
Yes.
So he was at large for a while. His name is William Cash. Of course, it's innocent until proven guilty, but this makes everybody feel good that there's at least something happening. And our hearts once again go out to the family of Lenny Clement. And so how much time we got left? We got about a minute left. So I think you could help me read a couple of the little
Sure.
announcements here. It's last week we had a lot of mentionings about Earth Week, and one thing we still want to remind people is
there's a special yard waste pickup being done by the Lynn DPW the week of May 8th through the 12th. Put out the waste on your regular trash day in paper bags or in open-top barrels, and that should get rid of the yard waste.
now the weekly wrap is looking for weekly people to come in on Fridays and tape a little 10-minute segment with us. We talk about news, current events, etc. Upcoming guests are Diana Chakutis, Ward 5 Councilor, former School Committee member Rick Starbird, activist Lynn Historical Commissioner Wendy Joseph, Noam Ron from the Hudson Group Developers, Salvin Migliaccio, and more Lynn area personalities. So, you know, it's about time to wrap it up, and maybe we can have some pastries and tea as we
Sure.
talk about us. Are you familiar with how we close the show, Sue Ellen?
I might be a little.
All right, well, I'll leave it up to you.
All right. Until next time, in every way and every day, keep loving Lynn.